Lillian, welcome to Farmers Media. Lillian is one of our own. Lillian,
Yes.
hii agriculture,
Mm.
uliingia ndani ya agriculture aje? Tell us first of all who you are, what you've done, and why you think that women in agriculture as a career is a possibility.
I am Lillian.
Mhm.
I am a horticulturist by profession, which is a branch of agriculture.
Mhm.
Horticulture mainly deals with vegetables,
Mhm.
fruits,
Mhm.
and flowers.
Okay.
Agriculture, I think it is one, you see, when you're growing up, I think almost every child tends
Mhm.
to think, I want to be a doctor,
Yes.
an engineer, a pilot.
Yes.
And I also had the same thing.
Yes.
I remember growing up telling my mom, at that time, I think the only school I knew was Lugulu Girls. And I'd tell my mom, I want to go to Lugulu Girls. And once I'm done,
Yes.
I want to be a doctor.
Uh-huh.
And then I go through high school.
Yes.
I'm done with high school.
Uh-huh.
So when we were in Form 4, we used to live somewhere in Riruta. And then we moved. My mom brought a piece of land. And we were living at Joska.
Okay.
So we go to Joska, and at Joska, it is your own compound. So mom starts having this kitchen garden
Yes.
at her place.
Uh-huh.
And she's planting. Now I come back home from school,
Mhm.
and she plants skuma wiki. After some few days, she says her skuma has problems. And in a professional way, you expect someone will go and buy something like pesticides and come and spray.
Yes.
But a traditional African woman, what
Yes.
they do,
Uh-huh.
she goes back to the house,
Uh-huh.
takes ash,
Yes.
goes and pours it on the skuma.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm asking myself, is this actually very effective?
Uh-huh.
And where did she learn this from? Who actually gave her this knowledge? Why is she doing this?
Uh-huh.
And then, after a while, she stayed with that skuma, and then she was like, no, the skuma is not good. I think we'll just have to do away with the whole of it. Because you see, her method hadn't worked.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I actually became very interested.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, are actually other farmers facing the same thing? As much as it's a small kitchen garden, are they having the same issues that my mother is experiencing? And I wanted to know, where else can I get the information about? And so when results came and I was applying for courses,
Yes.
initially I'm like, medicine, okay, medicine right now, I can't work with medicine.
Why?
Or maybe mainly because the grades actually didn't get that A.
Okay.
I got a B.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this B plane and I'm trying to think, should I go into media? Should I? And then I'm like, no. There's actually agriculture, which looks like a very interesting field.
All right.
And I realized I hadn't known any woman
Mm-hmm.
who had really pursued agriculture as a profession.
Mm.
I come from a background where in our house,
Yes.
we have a lot of teachers.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
And I almost thought it's a thing that women should do, teaching as a profession.
Uh-huh.
Because we had a lot of teachers. And I remember my aunt calling me and telling me, Lillian, you should actually apply to become a teacher. I think it will be very good for you. And actually, teachers never lack jobs to do.
Uh-huh.
They always get something to do. Like it will be a consistent thing.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, I'm here debating. So I was with my cousin and he was helping me do the applications. And he had done agriculture. And he's older, way older.
Okay.
So he was like, if you are interested in agriculture,
Yes.
it is actually a good course. So you just do this. Apply for agriculture somewhere JQuat
Yes.
or Egerton or Maseno University.
And you'll get it.
Whatever happens, you will get it because the grade was actually going to get it.
To allow you to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I pursued it, and the letter came back, and I had a call to do agriculture. Funny thing.
What did you think about agriculture from anything else?
First, I did not pursue agriculture in high school. I didn't. I did business.
All right.
So in my head, I was like, I really wanted to do a business thing. But then I'm looking at agriculture looks very profitable. And I think there's one instance that really bothered me. Was it in 2013 when we had hunger starvation somewhere in Turkana?
Yes.
And people were really collecting funds
Yes.
to support these people.
Yes.
And I was looking and I'm asking myself, we have a lot of land in Kenya.
Yeah.
Everywhere you pass, you see a lot of land. And I am wondering, why do we have hunger? In Turkana, yes, we have land. We can actually produce food, but we have people starving. We have students not going to school because they lack food. which is actually a problem in itself.
Yes.
So in my head, when I was going to agriculture, and I think that time we were now being taught about food security and all these SDG.
Yes.
And I was like, actually, this is a thing that should be attained. And for me, when I looked at all those SDGs, and I was like, actually, food security for me is what would work. This would actually be my contribution to the world.
So that's what you thought, like, okay, now let me do something to bring the change.
Let me do something to make an impact.
Okay. So that's how you ended up studying agriculture.
And that's how I did horticulture.
Horticulture.
Yes.
How did people what let me ask you this question, because I've had this from very many people. What was the color of your of your coats? Was it green or white or yellow? Which one was it? Because I hear the ones who are doing medicine, it's white. What was your color?
We used white.
White.
We
interesting.
used white.
Very interesting. So what was the when you're telling people that you're studying agriculture, your fellow students who probably even you are in high school together, what were their thoughts?
First, people never think agriculture is something that you should do as a course,
Mm-hmm.
as a profession. Like, you just went to school to pursue agriculture.
Yes.
Like, we have farmers
Uh-huh.
back at home who are doing agriculture without going to school.
So
why
why should you
on
go to-
earth would you go to school to do agriculture?
Uh-huh.
And I think I have had it.
Yes.
Even when you're talking to friends right now, and
Yes.
people are like, which field are you in? And you're like, I
Agriculture.
am in the agricultural field. And
Uh-huh.
someone is like, for real? Like, people go to school to study agriculture.
How do you feel when they ask you these questions? How do you feel?
I think people still have the mentality where people have associated agriculture with people in the rural areas,
All right. Yes.
people with no education,
Uh-huh.
people who are just doing it because they need to do it and they
Yes.
have no other option.
Yes.
And I think it's a mentality we are working towards getting rid of, because it's something that should be pursued, done professionally for us to attain what we need.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this question: when you're talking about agriculture and you're interested actually in pursuing it and doing it, what are these opportunities that you see that are there that other people are not seeing? Considering they're asking you why would you go and do agriculture? You know.
For me, I see agribusiness.
Okay.
Let's start with agribusiness.
All right. Interesting.
We are at an era where people are coming out of school,
Mhm.
graduates,
Yes.
and they can't really even find employment.
Mm-hmm.
So someone comes out of school and you're here. Maybe I have this MBA course I've done,
Yes.
and you can't find employment.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
you're seated at home and you're
Mhm.
doing nothing.
Mhm.
You see the way we are advocating for more artisan courses.
Yes.
Because you can actually self-employ yourself.
So is it a reality or it's a myth? What is the reality? If you look at it very critically, what is the reality on the ground in terms of agriculture being something that can benefit people?
It is a reality on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of farmers who've actually become very successful
Yes.
from what they're doing in agriculture,
Yes.
and are supporting other farmers
Mhm.
to be able to achieve even more.
Yes.
I think for someone who chooses to do it seriously
Mhm.
and professionally,
Mhm.
you actually get the rewards back. So I think the only problems comes for people who do it like a subsistence thing.
Mhm.
You are doing it, it's like a small kitchen garden just to
Mhm.
provide for my family
Yes.
and my neighbor,
Uh-huh.
and I am good to go.
Yes.
You actually never get the benefits out of it.
Exactly.
But anyone who chooses to do it commercially,
Mhm.
there might be setbacks.
Mhm.
Nothing goes without setbacks.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
at the end of it all, you will get your reward back.
Mhm.
You are actually even helping the world attain food security, which
Interesting.
is actually what we need right now.
So, how many were you in class? In your whole class, how many were you? I just want to understand a few things, because once we understand those basics, then we can now start dive into the discussion, like women in agriculture. Is it true? Is it a possibility? Or how many were you in the class?
Horticulture, we were 50 students.
50 students.
Yes.
How many were you after 2 years, after the second year?
48.
48. How many of you were ladies?
48, but we were around 21.
21. That's a good
21.
number. And all of you finished the course.
Yeah, by the time we were finishing, we were 44 in our class.
Yes.
And the ladies,
Yes.
funny enough, the
Mhm.
ladies actually never dropped out.
Very interesting. That's a very interesting.
Very enough.
Yes.
We actually had men
Mhm.
who actually, we don't know where they went. They just
They just
vanished.
vanished.
They just vanished. They don't exist anymore. They are not here. They are not here.
They just vanished.
Yes, but for the ladies,
Yes.
they were consistent from
Uh-huh.
when we started
All right.
till when we finished. Actually, I had something really interesting last week.
Uh-huh.
I was talking to an agronomist,
Yes.
Patrick.
Patrick, yes,
Yes.
Patrick Kimani.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
yes.
Patrick, we were walking with him around the chamber.
Yes.
And then he's like, "What have you pursued?" I'm
Yes.
like, "Horticulture." And he looks at me shocked.
Sons of A for real.
He was shocked. So he texts me.
Yeah.
We are looking at some leaf,
Yes.
a watermelon leaf.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Can you actually identify if this leaf has a problem?"
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Yes, I can."
Yes.
What is the issue? I'm like, "I think there's presence of aphids." So he's like, "Okay, so for real you did agriculture?"
Yes.
I'm like, "Yeah." And then he turns and asks me, "How many were you in your class?" The same,
Same question.
that
Exactly.
you've asked
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And I tell him 50. And ladies, 21. And I'm like, that is surprising.
Very surprising. Which university is this?
Maseno University.
Very interesting, because what we've had on the ground, some things are not as they sound.
Uh-huh.
But it's very impressive, and that's why I said, okay, let me just ask you some of these questions. And one of the things that I really wanted to find out is, when it comes to the actual doing things, the studying part is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to actual doing things in terms of talking to farmers, and what is the challenge or opportunity that you as ladies tend to have over men?
Ah, when we are doing whatever we do,
Yes.
I had an experience with the farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And let me go specifically, especially when you're doing soil testing.
All right. Yes.
You'd find when we are in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
even like our head
Mm-hmm.
actually had a lot of ladies in the lab.
All right.
And
Interesting.
he used to say he
Uh-huh.
finds ladies to be very attentive, very
Mhm.
keen,
Mhm.
very keen. There is no room for mistakes.
Yes.
They will do everything as it's supposed to be done. Men
Mhm.
can always try to find a shortcut somewhere. I need to finish this fast.
Lazima tumalize haraka twende.
Yes. And then he found us to be very attentive.
Yes.
And a place where we were working, you see, most of the farmers weren't actually very commercial farmers.
Mhm.
They were subsistence farmers.
Yes.
And if you've gone to our rural areas,
Yes.
you find most of them are women.
Yes.
Most of the women are actually who do the farming and everything.
Exactly.
And they actually find ladies to be very approachable. So if they have an issue, you find I feel like ladies have an issue, like asking or saying out their problems.
Uh-huh.
So it will be even be harder for them to
Uh-huh.
go to a man. So she'd come and be like, "Can I talk to you, kidogo?
Uh-huh.
I have an issue." So
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, maybe I am an intern here.
Mhm.
Maybe you should talk to our head." I'm like, let me just talk to you. Just go and talk to him.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Why do you think that's the case?
I don't know. I feel like it's all about the gender gap that we have.
Is it our
in
culture?
the community? Yes.
And our culture as well.
Yes.
Very interesting. So, what I wanted to ask you a few questions, but before that, for those who are joining us, this is a Farmers Media mid-morning show. Your host Noah Naseli is back, and we are discussing what opportunities do women in agriculture have. How can they be supported in terms of the abilities, the things that they require to make sure that they are successful. Uh, just basically, we March is a ladies' month. March is the ladies' month, and today I'm joined by my colleague Lillian, and Lillian is telling us some very interesting insights, giving us insights in terms of how she opted to do agriculture, why she chose to do agriculture, but most importantly is the passion of doing it, and also her being a lady. And you who are listening to us, let us know what are the challenges you have faced, what are the opportunities that you have faced, especially being ladies in agriculture as a profession, not just the farming part, but as a profession. We know quite a number. I'll just give a shout out to some of them who I've actually interacted with as professionals in agriculture. I've interacted with Madam Annie Nyaga, we can never forget her, the CAs of Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, now with cooperatives. Madam Anna Indeche, very interesting, and most of them are starting with Anne. Anna Indeche, who's a technologist at JKUAT University, very good guide in terms of agriculture. I've interacted with Dr. Anja Roge, who's the potato seed lead at One Acre Fund. I've interacted with Ruth, who is the technical director at Crop Nuts. I can keep on going.
Okay.
My first ever agronomist to write for me a spray program, none other than Maureen Situma. And then we have a friend who is working very hard, especially in Zimbabwe, Selena. Selena, will be featuring Selena actually on Friday in our Ask the Expert show.
All right.
And as you can see, these are ladies in agriculture, very high positions as well, very high in the industry. And one of the things that as we were talking, as I was preparing for this show, I kept on asking myself, what is this challenge that they face? And if you're watching us, remember this is Farmers Media, where we tell you successful stories, but we tell you stories that make you successful. We help you to attain knowledge and grow profits. But we want to go deeper as we continue with these discussions. And one of the things that we have asked today in our group Africa Farmers Club is it possible for women to succeed in agriculture as a profession? And not only just in farming, but also in policy making, in implementation, in guidance. And we want to hear your thoughts. If you're watching us, let us know where you're watching us from, and let us know whether you believe in this. Women in agriculture, is it a fact? Is it a myth? What can we do? What can governments do to be able to enable them to be able to do this? And as we continue with our discussion here, Lillian, there's something that I wanted to there's a question that has come through, and I just wanted to ask you this question is what are the opportunities that you have seen in agriculture as a lady professionally?
Professionally.
Yes.
Um, I have talked about agribusiness, so I'd go to extension officers.
Okay.
Yes. There is a really big gap. We have very few extension officers in our country today.
Yes.
You find the ratio is one extension officer to 3,000 farmers,
All right.
which is like one extension officer can only visit a farmer in 3 years once.
Yes.
Which is actually very hard, especially if we want to improve on our agriculture in the country. We need to be guided by the extension officers, and I find them to be very few.
Okay.
And there's a thing I realized. I was at some place, and the people we worked with, all the extension officers I knew were men.
Interesting. That's something else. Anyway, now that you brought it up, why do you think that is the case? And what are these? Is it that there's some fear, or is it that opportunities are not there, equal opportunities, or what is it exactly that brings out this? Because I've also interacted with quite a number of extension officers, but most of them tend to be men.
I think we can go it back to the time. You see the instance I'm telling you where Patrick was telling me in their class?
Yes.
They had like only 2 ladies in a class of 40 people. So
Okay.
when you look at the past generation,
Yes.
these people didn't regard agriculture as a career for women. It was mainly like it was done for men.
Okay.
Only men pursued it.
Yes.
So you find that most of the people from the other generation, most of them who pursued agriculture, extension officer, agricultural education, are more men. But right now, I think right now that's where we are trying to bridge the gap.
Okay.
You see, like me, I'm talking on an instance where in our class we were like 21 ladies.
Yes.
I go to the agricultural extension class. There were actually a number of ladies, several of them. Now we are trying to bridge the gap.
Yes.
I think in a place like 10 years' time,
Yes.
15 years' time,
Yes.
we will have a very good number of ladies in this actually field.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So there's a friend of mine who is also a farmer. She's an expert in the industry as well. And there's some questions I just asked her. She's from Zambia, Zimbabwe, sorry, Selina Sakupwanya. And Selina, if you're watching us, shout out to you as well. And she broken down some questions that she said that it would be good for us to start this discussion. And as you started practicing after graduating, assuming after graduating and you started doing some practice, talking to farmers, visiting farmers. I know your background, Lillian, is more of soil science and all that. How has the journey been? Is it smooth? Is it easy? Is it something that you would wish some things would have been done earlier? Yes, I just wanted to find out, as in, how has that journey been for those anybody who wants to find out how has that journey been? If you think through job opportunities, have they been there? Internship opportunities, even it starts from there. Have they been there? Just take us through, and then
I feel like it has been balanced, both very good and also there is some challenges kidogo.
Yes.
On the good side, I'd say even when I was going for my first, like it's more like an attachment where we do it for the school level and it is actually graded. The organization I went to,
Yes.
a lot of the workers, actually every worker I knew there was male.
Wow.
And the only female worker who was in that organization was an accountant. So everyone in the agriculture field, the horticulture department had 2 males leading it.
Wow.
Crop management had a male. Soil science, it was a male person. Everything was male. And it is a very interesting place. And you'd find they actually take a lot of interest in ladies, especially when they find you're doing agriculture. They are very ready to mentor you. That is, I think, one of the good things I have found in the agriculture field, because they find ladies to be very few. And you see, there are people from this other generation. So they are actually impressed that there are ladies who are pursuing it. And they are always very ready to guide you through. And they were of very good help. I think even right now, like, you have people always ready to guide you, especially the male people who are in the field. They are so willing to guide you. At least they want more ladies in the field, more ladies to work with.
This is my small sister. Listen to her. Very interesting. Those who are watching us, this is a Farmers Mid-Morning Show right here from County 034. Your host, Noah Nasiali Kadima. And we're talking with my colleague, Lillian Mora, who actually is telling us a very interesting insights in terms of agriculture and women, especially from a career perspective. We have a poll question that we've asked, and we're getting some very interesting feedback. We have 71 of you saying yes. We asked, our poll question was, can women succeed in agriculture as a profession, not only as in farming, but in policy making, implementation, as well as guidance? Share your thoughts. We are seeing 71 of you saying yes, they can. I'm seeing Professor Nicholas Correa as well, Kibet, saying that yes, they can. There's nobody who says no. A very interesting point and the comment that has come through Lillian here, saying, if women were given the same resources as the ones men are given in farming, we will never be a hungry nation.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
There's another one from, again, one of my mentors, Maureen Situma, from Syngenta.
She's watching.
Yes, Maureen Situma is the one who wrote for me the first ever spray program. She's saying, absolutely. By the way, we are quite a number of excelling in different sectors. Brilliant. And I've just mentioned some of the shoutouts, from starting with the CS of Agriculture, Madam Annie Nyaga, Anna Indeche, Dr. Anne Joroge, Potato Seed Lead at One Acre Fund, as well as Ruth Anita, who is a technical director at Crop Nuts. So we will be in the process. We're actually in the process of organizing a webinar in terms of discussing this, and just to bring it out, the reality of what is happening in the industry, and we'll be keeping you checked. We have some updates that we'll be sharing with you, but before that, we will take a short break. We'll be taking a short break. After the break, we will discuss a few things. But remember, we are also living at a very dangerous position as a country, in the world as well. The third wave of coronavirus has attacked. It is lethal. It is dangerous. Make sure you have your mask. It is now the global flag, the universal flag. Make sure you sanitize, wash your hands, keep the social distance. Keep social distance. Wacha nikwambie Lilian. On that note, I have visited a few places and I see like they've taken social distance wakatupa nje ya dirisha.
I should talk about that
when you come back.
Yes.
When you come back, don't go anywhere else. Just review, leave your comments, let us know what you think about what we're discussing today. Is it possible for women to excel in agriculture as a profession? Let us know. We'll be right back.
This is the Mid-Morning Show with Noah Nasiali Kadima.
Farmers Media presents COVID-19 protection measures. Wash your hands with soap and water regularly. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. Use a face mask. Keep the social distance of at least 1.5 meters. Stay at home. Only leave when necessary. experiencing any COVID-19 symptoms, call 719 or dial *719 hash for more information. This message is brought to you by Afarmers Media. Stay home. Let's flatten the curve.
Cauliflower is a cruciferous vegetable that is naturally high in fiber and B vitamins. Cauliflowers are annual plants that reach about 0.5 meters and bear large rounded leaves. As desired for food, the terminal cluster forms a firm succulent cud or head that is in form of a cluster of flowers. Cauliflowers do well in fertile well-drained soils that are rich in organic matter. Just like other plants, cauliflowers are also affected by different kinds of pests and diseases, which can hinder its growth, including unfavorable climate and growing conditions.
The many problems you will see in cauliflowers, and this one just one of them. You can see how the problem is. It's called riciness. You can see it living in a chana, that is, yeah, living each other, as you always say. But this one is usually caused by low temperatures. Yes, low temperatures. Low temperatures during planting leads to this problem. So you have to make sure during planting you have favorable temperatures for your crops. Always talk to your agronomist when you plant, so you can know when to plant what and what works when. Temperature will depend on your area, the area you're in. Because I can't tell you we are in Nyandarua, I want to grow this, and you are in somewhere in like in coast, it's too hot. Yes, so that will depend also in your locality. Yes, and also if you are in those climates where it always changes, so you have to know when is the cold season. In cold season you can't do this because of A, B and C, and if it's too hot you can't do A, B and C. So always, that's why I'll just have an agronomist, will guide you through it. Yes, and also do your market research and know what works where before you grow something as a farmer. Don't just do guesswork. There's a lot of pests that attack cauliflower. One, the most notorious one is aphids. Aphids will circle your leaves, and one thing you will know, there's aphids on your leaves. They're always curling. Yes, they will eat, or they will suck the sap out of the leaf, and now when they are too weak, they start curling. They curl inwards. So that's how you'll know you have aphid attack on your farm. Yes. And now what you can do to control aphids on your farm is always keep them in check by spraying. There's always a chemical solutions to it. There's a biological, and then there's IPM. Yes. The perfect head, I'll say, it looks like this one. Look at this. It's perfectly round, and it doesn't have any spots on it, and it's intact. That's what makes a perfect head, and is a good size, good market size. Not too small, not too big, not overgrown, just perfect. Yes.
Majina ni Emmanuel Lelei ama Olelei Lelei kwenye Facebook. Mimi nashughulika na drip installation, na hiyo ndio kazi ambayo tunaifanya. Kwanza kabisa ningependa kuwashukuru African Farmers Club kwa huu wakati ambao wameweza kunialika katika ofisi yao. Ningependa kusema ya kwamba venye nimeweza kualikwa mahali hapa, mimi ningesema kwamba itakuwa ni ushirikiano ulio mwema baina ya drip irrigation, Takes Hub na Africa Farmers Club. Nimekuwa nafanya hii kazi kwa muda mrefu. So far niko na 6 years kwa mambo na installation of drip, na kazi yenyewe ni nzuri, ninaipenda. Kitu ambacho ningependa kuwahimiza wananchi, hakuna mtu unaweza ukafanya kitu kama hujaweza kuipenda mwenyewe. So mimi napenda kazi yangu